areas impacted by this, and we're checking the weather service now to see if there's anything new to report there. Tornado warning. It looks like they got a new one for Berkeley County, just outside of our area. So that's the thing. These rain bands are showing up, and they can quickly produce these quick spin-up tornadoes. Before we continue with that, I do want to mention this new flash flood warning in effect for portions of Jenkins, Screven, Allendale County. This was just put out a couple of minutes ago, and this stays in effect until 8 p.m., and that's actually where we are seeing life-threatening flash flooding. Thunderstorms producing flash flooding have likely already produced several inches of rain. Additional as much as 4 to 6 inches of rain have already fallen there today, and additional rain continues to fall. So along with this tornado threat, we also have a big flood risk going on across the southern CSRA. So a few different threats on the board at the moment. And it looks like that's a new tornado warning, or they trimmed it. They trimmed it. Okay. Yes, positive news there. Looks like they did trim that warning, so hopefully a positive sign of things to come, that hopefully they will allow this to expire relatively quickly. Because Mikkel, I don't know. I don't see much on there at the moment. Earlier on, it definitely had a little couplet to it, but at the moment, does not look like it's as severe as what it was.
Correct, and I'm also seeing the same thing on my end as we're just continuing to track that. So we're just still looking at this trim warning now in portions of southern Screven County, so places near Newington, and as we continue to zoom in, you guys feel, oh, there we go, back towards southern Screven County we're looking at right now. So I'm just kind of trying to get really close here to pull up as many towns or landmarks as I can, but still looking at this potential tornadic cell moving through southern Screven County in between Oliver, Kildare, and Newington. We're looking at Georgia State Road 24, also Georgia State Road 21, where they intersect just south of Newington. So I'm going to switch back over towards velocity, and let me clear some of this stuff out so we can get a better look at what's actually happening and try to locate what Riley was looking for, which is that couplet. And just not seeing a really strong signature at this time, which is great news in terms of rotation. But if I had to guess, maybe somewhere near Oliver, we could have a little bit of where you have the winds going towards the radar and away from the radar, which creates that rotation that we see here at the surface. But definitely not seeing a super strong signature for that at all, which is great news. That has weakened a lot. And as we look at just this really quick 30-minute loop, not seeing any indication of a debris ball developing anytime within the past 30 minutes or 15 minutes. So just some positive trends with this cell, and I really think that they'll probably allow this to expire as we get to 5:15. If not, cancel it before then.
Absolutely, Mikkel. And the thing is, sometimes these things do go through a cycle to where maybe they kind of strengthen up, they weaken, and they strengthen up again. So we could be monitoring that. Going back to our high-resolution model, on the right side of your screen is a variable we call NROT. This is what the Weather Service really uses to kind of diagnose where there's the most tornadic signature on radar out there. And you can see we have some low values, but nothing really that I usually see whenever we have an intense tornado warning or a confirmed tornado on the ground. So we are still looking at velocity that's elevated, and there was possibly a little area to where maybe there could be some elevated rotation going on. We have not seen any debris signature on radar, and that's what's really positive news for us, because this is relatively close to the Charleston radar. So this isn't kind of in our radar gap in our area. This is actually have a pretty good vantage point from our Charleston radar. So we should have good clear scans in that. If there was something active, we'd likely be able to see it relatively easily. But you can still see some heavy rain, and that is also the area that's underneath that severe or that flash flood warning. So we still have to deal with that flash flood risk across the area, and that's what's also been really concerning. But you can see, I mean, honestly, folks, what they kind of triggered this warning for was anything that kind of looks like this. You can see inside those rain bands, there's just those little notches. So that's where there's just a lot of low-level wind shear, and you can quickly spin up a tornado. So this is where the tornado watch is in effect. If you've been watching us this afternoon, we've been mentioning Screven County, Jenkins County, Allendale County. You've been underneath the tornado watch all afternoon long. So these impacts have been expected, and now we are starting to see the first warning of the day for us. But even just a couple of hours ago, we had a warning over Statesboro that was just outside of Screven County. So we've seen these elements with us, and now just starting to get a little bit closer to home. But this is moving north at about 20 miles an hour, you said, Mikkel, I believe?
Yes, sir.
Earlier today. So it's got a decent pace to it, but just not seeing a clear signature on radar that this is an active tornado. Going back to correlation coefficient, so this is what helps us see any debris through radar, if there's any shingles, leaves, sticks, limbs, anything like that aloft in the atmosphere. Not seeing a signature like that at the moment, so positive trend there. But don't let your guard down. If you're in Newington, well, the area of concern is getting closer and closer to you, so just make sure you're staying inside. Hunker down, get to that lowest level of your home, and stay away from windows. That's where you're going to be safest. Even if there's not a tornado, you're likely noticing that the wind is really starting to pick up in our southern counties, not only in Screven County, but also Jenkins, Emmanuel, Allendale, Bamberg. We're starting to see those wind gusts get close to 40 miles an hour in a few spots, so definitely enough to bring down some trees, especially since we've already seen 4+ inches of rainfall. Saturated soils, very easy to bring these trees down. So anywhere really in the southern CSRA, if you got big pine trees around your yard that could fall on your home, just make sure you're staying in a safe place inside your home and just stay in that lowest level, because I am expecting a few more trees to come down as these winds do continue over the next several hours. But this is the only active tornado warning in effect for our area. So this is southern Screven County. This stays in effect until 5:15. So time check right now, 5:04. Still roughly about 10 minutes left on that. They did trim this back. It was in Effingham County. They just trimmed it. They just did not extend it. So a positive sign that hopefully this cell is just kind of peaked, and then now it's just going to continue weakening. But something we're just going to have to monitor pretty closely out there.
Yeah, I'm trying to get into the chat here to see if I see any updates from Charleston, and let's see here. Nothing besides the fact that they trimmed it. When they trimmed it, it's still moving northwest, so it shifted a little to the west at 20 miles an hour with that latest update. Still talking about Newington and Oliver being those main impact points.
Absolutely.
But if y'all want to come to the Weather Center, just real quick, as Riley was mentioning about safe places to go when we're talking about tornadoes and tornado safety, some of the most safest places to be, we're looking at some of the interior portions of the house. So as we look at that very quickly, because we definitely want to continue to track that active warning, just want to highlight very briefly that the closet, the hall, any kind of stairwell in your home, underneath that would be a safe place to go, and also the bathroom. Now, we do live in the CSRA, we're in the South, so basements aren't all too common, but if you do have a basement, that's always the safest place to go, as Riley mentioned, the lowest level of your home. And the idea is to put as many walls in between you and outside as possible, and also to avoid windows and doors. So you can take even extra measures by covering yourself with blankets, a mattress. Definitely want to have shoes on if you happen to get into a predicament where you're exposed to the outdoors or you have to quickly get outside after a tornado has passed. Anything like that. Could be a lot of debris on the ground when you're trying to walk after a tornado has already passed. But sheltering in a mobile home, a vehicle, or under an overpass, definitely want to always avoid that. And hopefully no one is outdoors right now as we are tracking still this tornadic cell, or the potential for a tornado to form with a cell in portions of southern Screven County right now. So still looking at this, definitely seeing that the polygon is there. And as Riley said, sometimes these cells can cycle, so we may have to stick with this if it does begin to cycle back into more of a favorable realm in terms of the potential for a tornado. But I just took this back about 15 minutes, and you can see that we definitely had some stronger signals of potential rotation with this cell when they first issued this warning. And then over time, we've just seen that kind of fade as it moved through Oliver, but now starting to see a burst of some stronger winds once again as this is approaching Newington. So we're going to stick with this to at least 5:15. If they extend it, we'll have to continue with it just for safety reasons. But at this time, starting to see a little bit more of what could be a couplet forming, and the couplet is just the differences in air going towards the radar and away from the radar in this case. So that's what creates that rotation, and we're looking at that velocity to see that. Going back to correlation coefficient, again, just a really good meteorological variable that lets us know if there's any kind of non-meteorological things being locked into the atmosphere. Example would be just wood, shingles, anything like that. And thankfully, we're still not seeing any signs of that in terms of a blue debris ball. but definitely something that we're still continuing to watch. Riley, you got anything on your side in terms of high-res radar? I see you got it up, or the weather chat?
Yeah. Oh, it just went away. Here we go. All right. So, hey, it just went away. Looks like they did allow that warning to expire.
Okay.
Good stuff. All right. Still some strong winds down there. Looking at so that variable you're looking at on the right, just outside of Newington, a little signature there that there definitely is some rotation in that rain band. It's fairly weak, definitely not the strongest signature I've ever seen. So not surprised they did allow this to expire. Remember, we do have a flash flood warning in effect, very heavy rain across the area. So we are going to continue to track. Would not be surprised. Maybe we get another tornado warning across some portions of the southern CSRA. So we're going to continue to have to keep a close eye on it. Looks like they did allow it to expire. It popped up on our high resolution radar first. Still a little bit slower here on our regular network. It may have to wait until 5:15 for it officially to go away. But something new to mention is that we do have a new flood advisory in effect for Richmond, Aiken, Barnwell, and Burke County. That stays in effect until 8 p.m. So starting to notice swollen creeks, streams, everything like that. And then a little bit higher threat is this flash flood warning that was issued, including Screven, Hampton County, also portions of Jenkins County. And look at that threat. It says considerable. They have actually seen reports now around Statesboro that water is getting into people's garages. So not only high water around streams and creeks, but actually going into people's homes in Bullitt County. So that heavy rain threat really starting to ramp up across the southern CSRA, and that's going to be the most concerning aspect, I imagine. Just take a look at that rotating line of heavy rainfall stretching all the way from Statesboro to Sylvania, Hampton County, Allendale County, even a few strikes of lightning, just showing you that there is still some good, robust thunderstorm development going on with this storm. Mikkel, also a new update came in from the Hurricane Center. They did downgrade this to a tropical storm, so no longer a Category 1 hurricane, thankfully. But even though it's a tropical storm, folks, still can produce tornadoes, still can produce flooding, still can produce strong wind gusts. So don't let that be a signal to just not pay attention to the weather anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Inside of that flash flood warned area that Riley was really pinpointing, the verbiage on that warning, as he said, considerable. They're looking at potentially 4 to 6 inches of rain that has already fallen just today alone. The hazard is life-threatening flash flooding from thunderstorms producing flash flooding. So locations in the way of this, as Riley mentioned, we're talking about water intrusion into homes and buildings in Statesboro already, and that's definitely one of the locations underneath this flash flood watch. We're looking at Metter, Sylvania, which encompasses Screven County there, Hampton, Lake Warren State Park, Varnville, Estill, crossing over into South Carolina now, Fairfax, that's Allendale County. So definitely seeing some impacts from flooding, which has been the main threat always. But as Riley said, we still have the potential for some tornadic activity, and we are seeing that verified now in the way of just this warning that's still showing up here on our radar network. But as Riley mentioned on the high res, it looks like they may have allowed that to expire. Did you see that come down in the chat yet by chance, Riley, or maybe
yes.
not? Okay.
So that is an update. They canceled the tornado warning for Screven County. Let's see, I just had it pulled up. Okay, so the storm which prompted the warning has moved out of the area, therefore the warning will be allowed to expire. However, gusty winds and heavy rain are still possible with this thunderstorm. And remember, the tornado watch does stay in effect until 6 p.m. So we still have roughly about an hour left on that. I think we just hit 5 o'clock. Oh, wow, 5:11,
yeah.
So take it away, but yeah, we still have a little less than an hour left with our tornado watch, and you can still see the tornado warnings popping up down there, but that has been allowed to be canceled. We're really worried about the flash flood warning in effect now for portions of Screven, Allendale, Jenkins County. We got a flood advisory here closer towards the metro, and you can see this is the worst part of the storm, folks. So this is what's impacting us now, and we'll continue to just kind of rotate through the area over the next couple of hours. So the center of the storm, kind of close to Statesboro. I'd imagine our winds are really picking up across Jenkins, Emmanuel, Screven County, all the way into Allendale County as well. And that's where that rain threat is definitely going to be highest. Those rain rates are over 1 inch per hour there. And they've already seen close to half a foot of rain. And they're starting to see an additional 1 to 2, maybe 3 inches over the next couple of hours. So significant rain across our area, definitely causing a lot of impacts. Here's kind of a wider look at what's going on. You can see a couple more tornado warnings here just north of Charleston. So these are the more concerning bands winds, those ones that move offshore inland, those definitely have the greatest potential to rotate and produce a brief tornado, but we've seen that happen here inland as well. So just make sure you're keeping your guard up. And Screven, Jenkins, Allendale County still have a couple, still have about an hour left for that tornado watch. And this is the worst part of the storm, even though it was just downgraded to a tropical storm. That we're hitting our time frame now to where we're seeing what will be the worst impacts from this storm for us here locally. So heavier rainfall the next couple of hours, wind threats starting to pick up as well. Wouldn't be surprised if we see some power outages across the southern CS array with those winds gusting over 40 miles an hour at times. So make sure you keep that cell phone charged up. If you lose power, you can always watch us online through our streaming service, through our website. Download our app. You can watch us there as well. So a lot of different ways to connect as long as you keep that cell phone charged up. All right, Carly, do you want to get into the show? We're kind of done with our tornado warning. Do you want to go to a break, then transition? All right. So, folks, we're going to take a quick break, and then once we come back, we're going to have much more local updates, news-wise, weather-wise, and we have a lot of reporters out in the field that are live showing impacts across the area, so stick with us.
Okay, we got some new blood.
Starting at just $82.98 per month.
Wow.
You're watching News 12 on your side.
News 12 is on your side with First Alert Weather.
All right, folks, we are starting to see that wind pick up across the area. We are looking at wind gusts now up to 37 miles an hour in Swainsboro, 44 miles an hour in Jenkins County there in Millen. So we are anticipating a pretty strong wind threat across our southern counties over the next couple of hours. Go to Doppler Max or First Alert Radar Network. We are showing fast-moving storm. This is actually picking up speed, and looks like we are back to max one. Here we go. So this is a live look from our Beach Island camera. We got some good steady rainfall out there, some wind, and we're really looking at the clouds moving pretty quick up there, 750 feet up. And you can see our wind here in Augusta now up to 15 miles an hour sustained. Gusts have been close to 30 at times, with that stronger wind threat definitely staying in our southern counties over the next couple of days. We are looking at heavy rain across the southern counties. That's where we have a flash flood warning in effect. That's where we are anticipating life-threatening flooding. So in Statesboro, in Bullitt County, I was just looking at pictures to where water was about a foot up in people's neighborhood and going into their homes. So that heavy rain that has now been found just north of the center of that storm, that's been impacting Statesboro, and that's moving into Screven County now. So I'd imagine we see a lot more flood reports for our southern counties over the next couple of hours. We do have a new flood advisory in effect for us here around the Augusta Metro, including Richmond, Burke, Aiken County. That will stay in effect until 8 p.m. And you can see good, steady, moderate rain, even heavy at times across Sylvania, Millen, all the way into Allendale County. So this is going to be the worst part of the storm we see for the rest of today. We're starting to notice the winds picking up, and also the heavier rain is now starting to fall on top of the 4+ inches of rain we've already seen across some portions of the viewing area. Here's a look at our rain totals so far today. Over 4 inches in many spots, even close to over 5 inches in portions of southern Screven County. Max wind gusts today, 37 in Swainsboro, 35 Louisville, and then 44 the top spot currently at Millen. So that's been the top wind report, but we could see those go up now that the center is finally showing up for us here across the region. As we continue through sunset, the wind threat will be with our southern and eastern counties, but moving away from us as we head into tonight. Not expecting much of a wind threat once we do get past sunset. Any plans this evening? The rain chances all but guaranteed for most spots. We're not really going to see the rain move out until we get closer to midnight, and then overnight tonight we will start to dry out across the area. Much more coming up in just about 10 minutes.
All right. Thanks for that, Riley. We want to go to Aiken now, where the Emergency Management Agency wants everybody in Aiken County to stay off the roads if you can help it. Our Hallie Turner is live off University Parkway in Aiken. And Hallie, walk us through the weather there right now. We can see quite the puddle there behind you.
No, literally. So right here, let me just put this umbrella down. But all right, right here, you're going to watch this truck come through, and he's going to blister this water. I mean, people are not paying attention. attention around here, and it's really hard to see this water if you're not paying attention, which is why they want you to stay off of the road. And when I say they, I'm talking about the emergency services here in Aiken County. The water levels are getting super high. Earlier we were out here and it didn't really look like this. There was a little bit of a puddle. Let's pan this way. But when cars stop, you can see it. But when they're not out here and it gets kind of quiet, unless you're driving in front of someone, you're not going to see this puddle. And that's not just for this road. That's for Whiskey Road. That's for your neighborhoods. The water is picking up everywhere. So you want to make sure that you're super careful out here. They're not getting out any sandbags right now. We haven't seen, other than a tree falling in North Augusta, I haven't seen a lot of tree damage out here or power lines down. But what we are seeing is this water.
All right, some good advice, Hallie. It takes 12 inches to move a sedan, 18 inches of water to move an SUV. So you really need to slow down out there. You just don't know when your car can get swept away. I want to go now to our Will Rio.
Especially if you're driving a car. Yeah.
Yes, our Will Rio's out in Waynesboro. And Will, you've been all the way from Thompson to Augusta. What have you seen so far out there?
Well, it was quiet earlier this morning and earlier this afternoon, but that is not the case right now. The wind, like Riley said, really starting to pick up. The rain really starting to pick up. And I want to show you some of the damage that's a product of some of that wind and that rain starting to build up in the CSRA. This tree was just reported by Burke County 911 to be laying across the road here. And we're told through their Facebook page that they have at least 6 or 7 other trees around this size laying across roads that they are actively trying to clear right now. There's roads that are flooded, I think as far south as Sardis as of right now, but this is what you're going to start to see. The rain gets the ground very saturated, and it becomes very, very easy to get some of these trees to just fall over onto the roads. That's why we're not going to go any closer, because there are very large trees here. This lake right next to us is starting to push up to some of these trees and then knock them over. But we've been all around the CSRA. We started out in Thompson earlier this morning. We talked to county officials there. They said that they were preparing, kind of monitoring the situation, but didn't have any real plans. They were just kind of waiting out to see if anyone had any emergencies that they needed to respond to. Now, we went up to Augusta, looked around to see what we could find, checked out a lot of those homes in South Augusta that experienced flooding a few weeks back. No real issues there, but we will continue to monitor this, especially going to some of these other places here in Burke County that are seeing some of these trees down. Meredith.
This is exactly why schools were canceled, classes were dismissed early, activities were canceled, that sort of thing. Thanks for that update, Will. We also want to show you these pictures we got just in the last 30 minutes. A tree is down on a house in North Augusta. This is on Hillside Drive on the back side of the Walmart on Knox Drive. Now, we have a crew on the way for a live look at this situation. The homeowner says she fears more trees near her home could come down, and they could. The wind, the rain, all of this, not a good combination right now. We're back in a bit.
Attorney you can count on to get you everything you're entitled to. Attorney John Foy and Associates.
Welcome back, folks. Here's a lot.
Your job counts on you just as much as you count on it. But when you've been Associates.
Welcome back, folks. Here's a live look at the Savannah River from SRP Park. You can see that rain is coming down. Wind's not necessarily a huge factor for us here around Augusta, but we do get a good gust every now and again. 74 degrees, sustained winds up to 15. We have seen a gust about 29 miles an hour. That's been our top one so far at Bushfield, but we are looking at a daily to continue bring us these impacts. Take a look at this. Just outside of our viewing area, Hampton and Jasper County, you got a new tornado warning in effect just outside the CSRA. A lot more tornado warnings up and down the Carolina coastline as those rain bands continue to move on shore. For us, the main concern is looking like it's going to be flash flooding. We actually do have an active flash flood warning in effect for portions of Screven, Allendale, Jenkins County, and a flood advisory in effect for us here around the Augusta Metro. The rain's not going to come to an end until we most likely get after sunset. Once we get closer to midnight tonight, we should see this rain coming to an end across the area. But until then, expect that rain to continue to fall, and it could definitely be heavy at times along with the wind threat. Overnight tonight, winds will calm down, rain will get out of here. Looking at beautiful weather Thursday all the way through our holiday weekend. All we got to do is make it a few more hours, folks, and then we should be in the clear and enjoy some really nice weather heading into this weekend. They have allowed a couple of these tropical storm warnings to be eliminated, so no longer a tropical storm warning in effect for Tolliver, Hancock, Washington, Johnson County. As the storm continues to move off towards the east, we'll gradually see these clear out across the area. So I'd imagine most likely by around 8, 9 o'clock, we see a lot more of these these counties eliminated from the tropical storm warning. Still a tornado watch in effect, though, so remember there is a active tornado warning just outside of Allendale County and Hampton County. So keep in mind there is a tornado watch for Jenkins, Screven, Allendale, at least until 6 p.m. So that's when the threat does look highest to where a quick tornado could form. But for the rest of us, just looking at the potential for more flooding as we continue over the next several hours. Luckily, no rain in our forecast for the rest of the week once we get past tonight. Looking at cooler temperatures, waking up near 60, afternoon highs remaining in the 80s. Stick with us. We're going to have much more coming up on Live at 5.
When the cranes go up, the prices go down. Milton Rubin Chevy will do Chevy today.
Welcome back, folks. Here's a live look outside of our studio. Take a look at the flag. It is whipping out there. We got about a 15, 16 mile an hour sustained wind. Gusts have been close to 30 for us here around town. The biggest concern, though, is definitely going to be the rainfall, folks. We've seen a lot of steady rain across the area, so that's going to lead to the potential for a lot of slip and sliding on those roadways. So just try to stay away from the roadways if you can. That's definitely going to be where he's hydroplane, and Hallie Turner was just out there showing us a lot of cars just kind of speeding through puddles. Remember, it's going to be very easy to spin out, cause a lot of wrecks in these type of weather elements. So just try to stay as safe as you can. If you can stay inside, that's going to be your best bet. Through this evening, we're going to continue tracking rainfall across the area. It's not going to be until most likely around midnight we completely clear out all this rain. The heaviest rain, though, is going to be just for the next couple of hours. Rain should be much lighter in nature once we get later into tonight. So past tonight, we do look to dry out. Beautiful weather in store Thursday through our holiday weekend. Stick with us. We're going to have much more coming up on Live at 5.